when people are taking a look at that side hustle and even making the decision, discerning between whether or not that's a hobby or something that they want to consider a business, that's really the first step, the mindset step, as silly as it sounds, that I really want to flag for people. Because even if you have a side hustle of some sort, once you start making money with that side hustle, even if you fully intend for that to stay a hobby, the law looks at you like a business and you have legal requirements that you must satisfy. A brief part of my story that I completely skimmed over earlier is when I was a litigator at that old firm, I needed a creative outlet. I needed something to counterbalance the stress of being in the courtroom all day. And so I had always enjoyed calligraphy. I started just doing calligraphy for fun in the evenings. It's also the time in my life where every single one of my friends were getting married. One thing led to another, and people started hiring me to do, place cards and things like that for their weddings. So I have actually been in the position that I'm talking about, is my point there. And once you start making money, the government is going to require you to do things like get your EIN number, which is like your business's, we can call it your business's social security number. There are liability asset or requirements that I want people to think of, such as LLCs and what entity and when that would be appropriate. Again, we can get into that later on. But also looking ahead and looking to see what business, if you need business insurance, if you need to have permits, any of those types of elements or licenses, any of those types of elements that admittedly are absolutely not fun to think about, but it's a clear step-by-step process. And I have in my creative law shop, in the second business I mentioned, I have a free download. People can download that, go over all of these things in a checklist, just so that, because you're probably, as you're listening to this, you're probably doing a few other things at the same time. I'm a visual learner. I appreciate being able to read something. So I'll make sure to mention that again later on.
Well, and we'll definitely put the link to that in the show notes.
Yeah.
It's funny, as a recipe developer, and I think I'm a jack of all trades. I've kind of used my LLC as this umbrella to include whatever it is that I'm doing. I think I've probably looked at the law as suggestions, along the way, which is not legal. Yeah. And, it's interesting because it doesn't matter until it does. I think with a lot of things, it's like, okay, paying your taxes and filing and whether you do it correctly. Well, it doesn't matter. It does matter, but until you get caught or until somebody wants to see backup information validation. Mm-hmm. Do you think people are kind of teetering on that edge more often than not of legality and missing some big steps?
Absolutely. And I want to preface what I'm about to say with the statement that I very firmly believe in I'm not trying to be a fearmonger. You can start a business, it can go well, things can be fine. Right now, I am seeing, my practice is the busiest it's ever been, with the exception of the week of the shutdown in 2020. Like the week that shutdown occurred, I heard from every single client I'd ever worked with. So right now, what I'm seeing, and going to your point about the number of businesses that have been started since the pandemic, right now I'm starting, from my perspective, seeing the fallout that can occur, the gaps that can start to expose themselves after a little bit of time of operating a business kind of haphazardly. I am starting to see and having to perform triage on a lot of those elements. And I can get into exactly what I'm seeing people miss and what people need to do to keep those side hustles and those businesses afloat as well, if you would.
Yeah, because I think they're probably common mistakes, regardless of the field that you're going into, some big red flags that people are really missing out on. So just kind of enlighten us on what we need to look for.